Okay, there we go, guys. So yesterday, Mike was talking to you guys a little bit about the paperwork that's required to list a property for sale. And so I just wanted to take this one step back. And today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what it takes on the pre-listing paperwork side, right? So as we know, before we even go to start preparing the paperwork to list a house for sale, we need to have what I like to call a pre-listing interview with the seller. Okay, so this is where we are gathering all of the very necessary information before you guys can even try filling out the agreement to list, the MLS data sheet, all that kind of thing. Okay, so we need to know what is required of us to fill out, what information do we need to know, and who do we get this information from? The seller. The seller knows their house better than any of us, right? So we're going to get information from the seller, and we're also going to pull information from Geo Warehouse, right? So Geo Warehouse will give us things like the legal description of the owner's name. It's going to give us property information and lot sizes that we need. We can always pull up reference guides as well. So those two things combined between Geo Warehouse and between the seller will give us the information we need before we can even start filling out listing paperwork. So this is the pre-listing side, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so you guys see in here, before I even go forward, I want you to know how to access this because you all have access to this, okay? So when I went to resources, you guys see this here, right? You see where I am? So in your resources folder, which everybody has access to, under the drive, move this over. Right here, you're going to see a section called Listing, Systems, Tools, and Emails. If you've never gone in here, it's a really good folder to have. I'm actually gonna, before I even go through, I want to go through this because I don't think many of us know that this still exists if you haven't had a chance to look here. Listing, system, tools, and emails. What's in here? This is awesome information that we have available to us that we don't even need to recreate for our seller. You can use this folder as part of your listing process before you even list your house for sale, okay? So look, you have in this folder tips for showing your home. Tips for the seller before we even go to list it, how they can depersonalize, the importance of decluttering, rearranging bedrooms, all that, okay? We even have a form here that we've uploaded for you. It's called Seller's Homework. This is an opportunity for the seller to provide us with the necessary information we need in the pre-listing process. And it actually gives them a checklist. So it says, have you supplied us with a key to your home? Do you have a survey of your property? Is there a tenant there? Is there an information about a tenant that we need to know about if the house is occupied by someone that's not the owner? And your current taxes, right? The other thing here that it goes through asking is a little bit about why the seller likes their neighborhood. How would the seller sell their home? If a seller was going to sell their home, how would they sell it to us? So this is something that we can give to our sellers after we know that they're going to be listing with us, after they've signed the listing agreement. Okay. We also even have a checklist here, guys. Okay. This is for us, right? We can follow this. If you don't have this, please print it. You need to be printing this. The reason you have to print this is because you don't need to recreate and write all these notes. We have it right here. What do you do before your listing appointment? These are practices that all of us are using. We're adding them to our database, adding them to a pipeline, which we talked about. Completing research on the home. Set up an appointment for a CMA and review and to sign paperwork. Then what do you do after your first meeting? A week before your listing launches. And the day of your launch. So this is all super important to have, guys, before you even load your listing to MLS. This you should print and have near you. If you're not sure what the step-by-steps are, we have them in your folder for you. Okay. Where was the other one that I wanted to show you guys here? We even have an interview questionnaire here as well. Okay. So this is super important too. Right now I'm just showing you what's in here. Okay. I'm going to save that one. Here's an example of a snapshot that we've created to show them when you're at the listing presentation, what properties sell for and for how much. This one is obviously branded to the Silver and Eagle team, but you can absolutely recreate something like this for yourself to have for your sellers. Basically tells you what sold, what hasn't sold. They've even here, they've done what we call a net sheet. This is really great for those of you who, sorry, one sec. For those of you who have people that ask you, okay, what is it going to cost me to sell my home? Here's an example, guys, right here in your folder. It shows you what is it when the seller says to you, okay, well, I don't know how much my costs are going to be. How much am I going to net at the end of the day? This is a great net sheet that you can show them.
I actively use one of those as well. They're really great.
So great.
Yeah.
And then you also have one here that says cost of buying, right? So it says, okay, so if my purchase price is this is the land transfer, approximate cost of lawyer fees. And it shows them exactly what they're going to need to have. So please use this too. And again, we don't need to recreate the wheel. We have it here. Use what we have and rebrand it to your own name. I'm taking the time right now to show you all this because I don't think that many of you know that this is even here right now. Okay. So now look what we have here. Perfect for you. We have a list of what they need to do after you close the deal. So now you've sold the house. What do they need to do? It's all here. Okay. Okay, guys, this is awesome too. New listing checklist. Yesterday, Mike was talking about all the forms that are required for you to list a house for sale, right? Here we have everything that you'll need right after that. Okay, so it's saying save your photos from Dropbox or whatever, however you're receiving your photos for your listing. Create branded photos. Like this is all perfect if you guys already have your listing and you're ready to launch it. Basically, what this form is. So it's associated, like you could put on Realtor, you could put it on a YouTube channel if you have that. This is just an extra resource, okay? I know I'm pretty sure many of you will add and delete in some areas that don't apply, but you can, it's just a rough idea of how you can use a new listing checklist. Okay, so this is an example, guys, again, in your box, in your folder of an offer date email that you can use. You don't even have to recreate it. You have it right here. Thank you for showing this address. If your clients are thinking of submitting an offer, you guys, you can use this exactly. You can copy and paste it into Broker Bay and send a mass email to everybody that's seen your listing. Somebody's saying something here. Oh, there's Miriam. Yeah. So please use this template. It even goes to, you can even, where it's red, you guys can fix. So it says hot water tank rental, as you would always obviously have to fix that. Please don't just copy, paste, and send, like read it and update it as you need it. Chattels included, you can fill them in here, remind them of the important details. For example, like if you know anything about the furnace or what needs to be done, you can put it in there. And then your information. So before you just send it, just read through it. So this is from Keller Williams, you guys. So this one is also a guide and a questionnaire that you can use that you'll obviously get the seller to fill out. Tammy, I just wanted to fill you in. I know you just joined. Hi. Basically what we were just going through, and Linda too. Okay, good. Crystal. Yeah, good. Okay. For those of you who are just tuning into this call right now, I want to show you something really important if you didn't know that it already exists here. When you're in your Google Drive in resources, there's a folder in here that's called Listing System Tools and Emails. So basically what I was just saying to the group is in this folder, which I don't know that many of us know this, there's a lot of resources in here that are super helpful without having to recreate the wheel. Okay, so in here, you'll see tips for showing your home. You can literally send this to your sellers when they're like, okay, what do we need to do right now? You know, when you have your listing signed and you're like, okay, now they're like, hey, what do I need to do? You can literally include this: tips for showing your home, how to declutter, how to depersonalize, rearranging bedrooms, checklists that they can use. Seller's homework. This is basically when you're just before you're going to list them, you're going to talk about things like, okay, have you given me a key? Is there a survey? Is there what tenant information? If you have a tenant there, taxes, you can literally send this to them to fill out as well. There's a seller's checklist here. There's an interview of questions you can ask them. We also talked, okay, this was a good one. I don't want you guys to miss out on this, but this is basically a net sheet. So we have something in the folder where you can give and create for your families. So if you know that they're going to be selling a house, you can break down for them, how much are they going to be left with, right? And then you can also show them what it would cost to buy, which is super helpful. How many times do you guys get families that say to you, okay, well, what am I left with? After I pay this, and this, and this, how much is it all going to cost me? So you can create your own net sheet. We have it here already. You can literally just rebrand it to your own name. So there's a lot of really good resources in here. The one that I wanted to talk today about too was the pre-listing interview. So now we know that we are going on a pre-listing interview. So let's just say you had a conversation with them. And I don't know how everybody's doing it their own way, but for me, usually it takes me 2 appointments before I'm ready to list them. And the reason for that is that usually my first meeting is they're either interviewing other agents or I'm just meeting them for the first time and I need to build my rapport. And then usually I'm going back a second time. How does everybody else feel about that? Is that usually how you guys are running your business too? Like, I don't know many people that are listing and signing on their first visit, but I'm sure some people do. Mike, how is it for your team? Are you usually 2 appointments before you list them?
Yeah, typically like it ranges. Sometimes like I'll try to sign them. Typically I try to go for the exclusive signing on the day of.
Yeah.
But in most cases, it's like a double appointment. Like we'll come back and then sign everything, or they'll send us an email. Like our latest one, we sat down with them, we went over everything. They're like, okay, no problem. You're interviewing a couple of teams. We'll get back to you. And then the next day they sent us a message saying we got it. Right. And then we just go over and sign it.
Yeah, I agree with what Mike's saying. It's usually
Colin's
twice.
Actually very good. Colin was like the king of getting the signature on the spot. I don't know if it was because he was so intimidating, but like every time I go with him, like we were signing paperwork. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah. And honestly, guys, this all depends on how your business runs and what you're comfortable with and what the seller is comfortable with ultimately, right? We want to make sure that you guys they're comfortable because it's their home, right? So it's a big decision. But what I would say is usually this happens twice. Okay. So you want to build rapport. Potentially they need some time to think about it if they're not ready to list right away. And then the second visit, you're going back. And this is where our pre-listing interview would take place. Okay, which we call pre-listing interview. So in your folder, you have access to, sorry, I want to minimize this. Oh my gosh. There it is. In your folder, you have Ninja Selling Pre-listing Interview. So you're going to sit down, you're going to book an appointment. Now you're going back to the seller's house and you're going to have a meeting with them so that you can plan your next steps. We're going to the seller's house because we want to give them provide them with what their next steps are. Okay, so we're there to build rapport. We're there to figure out what the timing looks like in order for them to sell. We're going to look at what plan we have in place for them to execute their result. So we need to take something with us. And this is a great thing that a tool you can take with you, because this pre-listing interview is basically your seller. I like to look at it. Your seller is selling you their home. They know their house the best. So I like for them to walk me through their home. So when I walk into their home, the first thing I would do is start building that rapport, and I would have them walk me through their home again and tell me things about their home that I need to know before I list it, right? So we're basically going to be asking them questions while we're there. And we're also going to be figuring out from them what improvements they've done, what things haven't been done to the home. Is the home in good shape? What do we need to be aware of? Have there been any issues with the property? What type of property are we selling? And so that's why we need the sellers to be present in there and are basically walking us through their home. So we like to put the name, the property address, their mailing address, of course, Who is on title of this property, right? Like who's on title, which that's why I said we use Geo Warehouse. So Geo Warehouse will tell us who the owners are of the property, and we have to make sure that they're both there, right? So I also like to ask them, what are your phone numbers, and what if we were to list your home for sale, what is the best way for me to notify you of showings when showings are taking place? Is it by phone, email? Who can I reach during the day? Who's available if I have any questions when the house is listed for sale? So in this form, it actually talks a lot about like, why are you selling? When do you need to move? So usually you would have these questions answered in the first interview with them, right? You usually find this information out before. But if you don't know this, you do need to know what their motivation is, right? So if they were to describe their house, like how many bedrooms do they have, bathrooms, what is the square footage, what style of home are you listing for sale? Hang on, let me go back. It also goes out to talk about, so this part here, guys, where it says like in terms of the loan and the finance and all of that, like, I don't know, I don't usually get all this information from them, especially some people aren't really comfortable, especially if they're in a financial hardship. But if there is a mortgage, we just need to let them know that obviously with the lawyer, it's going to be discharged on closing, right? But I think this form, some of it doesn't usually apply when you're at, like, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some of this, it looks like it's a mix, right? Like some of these things, he says, what are the 3 things you're looking for in a realtor? This would probably be on our first appointment, right? Like we're not going to ask this when they're ready to list their house for sale. This is usually when they're in the process of interviewing. That is also here in section 15. It also talks about, okay, what is the company name of the other people that you're being interviewed? I have asked this in the past, guys, where I have said, hey, are you interviewing other realtors? Can I ask who they are? I have asked sometimes, but most of the time I'm not really so concerned about who else they're interviewing, because I'm making it as if I'm going to be getting that listing, right? So I'm going in with the mindset that I'm there to list their home for sale, not necessarily interested in who else is going to interview and that kind of thing. So there's this form, but then there's another one that I'm looking for that also talks about, let me see if this is it here. Day of launch, day after launch, not that one. Not this one. Seller interview questionnaire. I believe this was it. So this one too, you can also use in correspondence with the other pre-listing. And basically with this one, we want to know everything about the house. So it's going to say, okay, how many bedrooms do they have? Is there a living room? Is there a dining room? Is the fireplace working? Is it fully functioning? How many square feet? Do they know the square footage of the house? This is another opportunity where you can ask them also, do they have floor plans? I was just asked today, guys, by a seller. I have a seller and a buyer asked me, hey, do you have floor plans of the house? And I think Mike mentioned Winsold is also a really great site to use. If they don't know the square footage, if they don't have any floor plans of the house, you can use a company called Winsold and they will help with preparing that for you. Square footage, you can always purchase as well on Property Line. So for those of you, I'm going to show you actually right now how to get access to Property Line. Has anybody here already listed a house for sale?
I have.
And did you pull your own square footage, or did the owner have that?
I try and ask them if they have a floor plan. If they don't, I just take my own measurements. I don't add them up, but I just leave it blank if I don't have the exact measurements.
Yeah, so perfect. So I'll show you guys a cool way. I like buying reports for all my listings. So let's say it was Aurora. Let's just say this is your listing here, right? So if you go on Property Line, once it's listed, you could always go on Property Line, or even before it's listed, you can search it. You could search the address here on Property Line. Not this part, hang on. How did I know? Why it's not saving it here? It's right here. here. Okay, so guys, so you have to be highlighted on it, right? And we have to make sure that we're looking at the right property. And then on the top right corner of property line, it's going to ask you if you want to purchase a floor plan report. Okay.
That's
and if
cheap.
you,
$5 is good.
yeah. So if you're purchasing this, it will tell you the square footage of the house. Does that help?
Yeah, it's good. It's only $5 too.
Yeah, so I add that. I cannot remember what the difference was, guys, for the residential detailed report. But let me just see. So then what you can do is view your reports. So these are all the ones that I've paid for in the past, right? And then you can get a receipt and it's a write-off. So I'll show you what this one looked like. So here's an example of what you'll get. So it tells me this is the square footage. This was a side split, right? So there will be a piece of the house that wasn't included in this, but this is basically the square footage of the home. Okay. Here's another one here. So this was a condo and it's 843 square feet. So this is a good resource to use in case you need to figure out square footage. And this seller interview questionnaire is also great to have on hand, right? Because you're going to ask them their name, address, phone number, best time to contact, what contact number do you prefer, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, living room, dining room, fireplace, any notes on anything you can add. You can create more space for yourself. It's a Word document, so you can edit it. Square footage, if they don't know, I just showed you, you can use property line to find it. And if they don't have floor plans, you can use a professional company that can come out and actually create floor plans for you, like Winsold. For their garage, how many car garage do they have, right? And then remember too, we can't forget that we can't necessarily, guys, use the boulevard as a parking spot because that doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the town. So if you have something that's on a sidewalk and they're looking to sell and they say to you, well, we also have the bottom of the driveway. We can't include that because it's not part of their property. So we have to go by exactly what can you park before the sidewalk, right? Because that's towns at the other end. And then it's asking you what kind of parking here. And then here you're also going to fill out and say, okay, is there a finished basement, unfinished basement? Is it a 2-story home, 1.5-story home? So there's lots of questions here too, like about, decks and patios. And in this section here, I would start filling out, okay, has it recently been replaced? Any improvements? This sprinkler system is very important, especially if you have irrigation. So make sure that you're asking, is there irrigation on the lawn? Is there a pool? This is a great opportunity for you to fill out a lot more information about the pool. Is it an in-ground pool? Is it an above-ground pool? Is it salt water, chlorinated? Is it heated? Is it not? Do you have lights around the property? That kind of thing. Do they know of any easements or restrictions on the property? You can always look that up as well on Geo Warehouse. This is a great question. I love asking this question. So when I'm walking through the property with the seller, I like to ask them, what are the best features of your home? What do you love about the property? What are some updates that you've done to the house? Right? So, I would be asking that question, like, what have you done to this property to update it since you bought it? And then create a list of features that they've done. Have you done the windows? Have you done the roof? What year is your furnace, your AC? Did you just recently do a kitchen renovation? What did you include in your renovations? This is another really good one, guys. We see how it says here, when would you like for this move to happen? So what I like to do in this case, guys, is I actually bring a copy of a calendar with me.
Funny you should say that. I swear to God, I was going to do the same thing, make a little calendar, because when you go, they're always asking you, oh, what are the dates and everything?
Absolutely. So I do go to, when I know that they're going to work with me, right, on my second visit, I do go there with a blank calendar. So if today is, if
Okay.
we're planning on working with them in February, I will bring a blank, I'll literally Google it, Google
Yeah.
blank February calendar. Doesn't have to be fancy, right?
Yeah.
And we go there with a plan. Like we're here, right? Like I said, we're here to develop a plan with them. We're here to familiarize ourselves with the house, but we're also here to prepare a plan. And the best way to do that is through using a blank calendar, because you can work backwards. So if they say to you, I need to be sold by February 15th, okay, now we know we have 2 weeks to plan. Right? So we can say,
Yeah.
okay, this is our go live date. This is when you need to be staged by. This is when the house needs to be clean and decluttered by. And we can work backwards based on the date that they want to be literally on the market, ready to go. Okay, so bring a calendar and start practicing that. I even do this before I go sometimes. Like I'll start marking it out on a calendar, and I'll say, okay, you know, I know that I have this many days. I know that I can bring a stager in on this day. I know that I can bring in a photographer on this day. So you can even go in there with a plan as well, and then present it to them and ask them if they want any changes.
Yeah, thanks.
So this is very important. What's going to happen for them when it's listed? We need to ask them, are you going to be staying in the house while it's listed for sale? And set the expectation and let them know, okay, I'm just letting you know, this is roughly how many showings you're going to be getting on this property. And let them know that there's going to be quite a few showings. And this is allowing them an opportunity to plan for their family, right? We need to give them family planning time. So maybe they do need to get an Airbnb. I have sellers where they say, you know what, we do not want to be home. We're going to get an Airbnb. If they can't get an Airbnb, we're going to go to our cottage for a week while it's listed for sale. Or you know what, we're actually decided we're going to stay with family. Then there's some people that do not want that option. They want to be home. Okay, perfect. If you are going to stay home, then what are the times that we can have your property shown to buyers, prospective buyers? And let them know too, on the weekends, it gets a little bit busier. As we know, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays usually get pretty busy when it comes to showings, right? So we want to let them know of this so that they can family plan. We have to have this conversation, because if you just list their house, guys, and they have no clue what's about to happen, they're going to freak out. They're going to get scared. Oh my gosh, there's so many showings happening. I don't know where I'm going to go. I didn't even think of this. I didn't even think of this. I didn't even think about where I was going to go. Like, if we don't tell them and let them know, like, guys, you guys might get like 50 to 80 appointments booked on this place. They're stranded, and now they're pissed and they're getting upset, and potentially their experience starts off bad. And we don't want that. We want it to be a positive experience and let them know that we are helping them gain control of their outcome. So here it says staying, multiple choices. Yes. So it shows you that. So why are you moving? Potentially we already know the question. If you already know the answer, you don't need to fill it out, right? If they're relocating, where are they going after the house sells? The target date for relocating to their new home, that kind of thing. Okay. Who's involved in the sale? We'd likely know that already. But here's the thing. You can have a husband and wife on title, but their mom lives with them and she's in the basement. Or they have a teenage son. Or, they have tenants in the basement, right? So it's not necessarily just who's on title. Yes, they need to be there for the big decision-making and signing of paperwork, but do you have everybody there who needs to be on board? I sold a house, guys. It was a husband and a wife, their 3 young kids, her mom and father in the basement. Now I have 4 adults and 3 small kids. So we're not just worried about who's on title, because if I don't prepare the mother and father who are in the basement, an older couple, and they don't know what's going on, right? Like, let's be transparent in terms of what we're saying to the family, and have this as a whole. This should be a meeting that everybody's involved with, so that they know what the expectations are for them. There's nothing worse than listing a house for sale and nobody knows what's going on. You get that appointment gets booked, and now the mom and dad are home because they didn't even know that it was going live today, and they have nowhere to go because they don't drive. And that's happened, right? So it's up to us to keep that communication open and make sure you're giving everybody your phone number, and you have theirs too, in case you need to reach them as well. There was another time I'll share with you where I had one lady selling her house in Newmarket. she had 2 tenants living with her upstairs to help her pay the bills. She had her teenage son in the basement, and her daughter was coming in and out of the house. Imagine that's like 5 people I had to keep up with, right? So the first thing I did was I said, okay, what's the best night this week that we can all sit down on the table together and have a conversation? Because we need to set out the boundaries and what the expectations are when people are coming in and out of your home. Not only did I give them my number, they had mine as well. And, you know, I kept that communication open with them. I would let everybody know, okay, our appointments are going to be Monday to Friday from 11 to 3, and then from 7 to 9, right? So I set those boundaries so that they knew what to expect for the week. And sometimes that's what's required. We have to set a schedule, because I had one guy working shift hours and he wasn't waking up till 10. There's no point in me now waking him up an extra hour. He's going to get upset. He has nowhere to go. And then I'm bringing in buyers through the house when people are sleeping, right? So if we set our schedule for them, they're a lot easier to open up themselves to trying to work with you, right? So I like setting a showing schedule. If you have that many people in the house, setting times of the day that they can come in and out, buyers can come in and out freely, so you're not worried. And then saying to them, okay, during those 2 hours, what are you going to be doing, right? If to the seller, do you have somewhere to go? Yeah, I can go to my friend's house just down the street, no problem. Okay, perfect. Oh, you know what? During that time, we're gonna go and eat out for the rest of the week. We're not gonna be grocery shopping. They go for dinner during that time, or whatever that looks like, right? We'll skip out to the mall, or I'll go for a drive. So it can happen as long as we're setting it up for them. And then this is why you have your schedule with you, you have a calendar with you, and you're asking these questions. So these questions are here for you to ask and to be prepared for. The other thing is we already talked about this, but what upgrades have you done to your house is very important, because we want to sell it at its highest and best potential. That's our job as realtors. Our goal is to sell it for all the features that the house has. The other part is too, that I really think this is one of the most important parts here, is asking, do you know any immediate repairs that need to be done to your home? And if they don't know, and if you see that the house is neglected, maybe this is an opportunity for you to purchase a pre-home inspection of the house so that you know what's going on with it. Do you need to bring any contractors in? I've had this happen, guys, where literally the family had no clue that they had that much mold in their attic. And it was a lot of mold. I needed to do a whole entire mold remediation before I could even list the house for sale. So that's great that they want to list it in 2 weeks, but now we've discovered an issue, right? And so we need to clean up the issue before we list it for sale. We don't want that to come up, right? So if they say to you, well, I'm not really sure, you know, we've tried to keep up with the house as much as possible. Let's ask them, do we see the benefit in purchasing a pre-inspection? In the past, sellers have sometimes said, you know what, we want to pay for it. We want to know what's going on with our house as well, even if we don't sell it. Or I myself as an agent have decided that it would be beneficial for me to. And again, I want to bring this up just as education for you. I don't want to say if you pay for it or they pay for it. It's up to you how you run your business. But for me, I've paid for it because I want to know what's going on with the house, because I'm selling it. So I need to be aware of what's happening there. And if there are things that come up on the pre-inspection, then who do we know that's going to help them remediate these issues? Contractors, roofers, HVAC companies, right? So again, it depends. Each scenario is different. Some people, their house is in tip-top shape. They can tell you everything about it. Some people, maybe it was an investment property and now they want to sell it. We need to know what's going on with the house. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your home? Everybody's going to say 10, right? Everybody's house is the best house. How long have you owned the home? We can even look at that information as well on our own, and that's through Geo Warehouse. Maybe while I'm here, I'll show you how to access Geo Warehouse. So there's 2 ways of accessing Geo Warehouse, guys. It's right here on the listing itself or on the home page. I believe it's on the home page. Yep. Is it on the home page? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's because I always go on the listing itself.
No, yeah.
It's not, right? Okay, I didn't think so. That's Authentisign. Okay, when you're in the actual listing itself, you can even click on any property and you can just go right to Geo Warehouse. just click on any listing and you can go right to Geo Warehouse. You can change the address of what you're looking for on the top field here. So let's say it's this street here. And this is the house I'm going to be listing for sale. So you can actually scroll into Geo Warehouse and it shows you, okay, they are the fourth owner technically because it was with the builder built it and then gave it to this gentleman here. It was transferred. But let's say, you know, they are the fourth owner of the property. You can find that right here. Okay. And what they paid for the house and that kind of thing. Let's go back to our seller checklist. Do you remember what you paid? We have that information. We would have already given them a market analysis for their home at this stage. This part here, even this part, like, do you have any idea of what your home would sell for? We already would have done all of this, right? So again, it's not necessary the bottom part of this form at this stage, but maybe before you list it, like if before you even plan on having the second meeting with them, if it's a second meeting that you're going to, then I would just basically focus on the things that are important here. The other thing about this is you're going to want to take a lot of notes. So I always like to take either a notepad with me or I take my computer as a resource to be able to type things out as I'm talking to them. And we really want to know the dates, right? So I'm just going to flip my screen here. So we want to know the dates of everything, right? So we want to know from them during that opportunity when you're talking to them about, okay, what updates have you done to your house? You're going to want to know things like this. What year are your windows? This, most buyers want to know that. How old are your windows? If they don't know how old their windows are, guys, there's actually a sticker on the inside of the window. I'm going to actually show you an example. Here's a trick another realtor showed me. So say you want to ask them, okay, how old are your windows, to figure that out? If you look at a window, I don't know if you guys can actually see this, but there's usually a sticker in the corner of a window and it tells you the year.
Oh.
So mine is 2020 on this house. It will actually tell you the year that they were manufactured. Just a little tip for you. Okay. So when you're inside a house and you don't know, go into the windowsill and check to see what the sticker says. If there's no sticker, guys, and the windows are bad, they're old. So like, you already know that automatically that they probably need to be changed. But the reason for this is because you need to create a sheet in case the buyer's agent asks you when your house is listed for sale, what the years are of everything. So I like to know what year the windows are. I want to know the furnace. What year is the furnace? I want to know what year the AC is. And when I'm looking at these items, I want to see, are there any stickers of like Reliance or Enercare? Because if there are rental company stickers, I need to ask them, is this owned or is this a rental item? And then they need to check for us, because if it is a rental item, we need to disclose that on our listing. Or the seller needs to buy out those options, or there needs to be an option to buy it out at some point. That's a whole other topic we can talk about, but ask the question, are your furnace and ACs owned or are they rented? And what year are they? That brings you to the topic of, you know, what type of heating is in this house? Like yesterday, guys, I was at a listing and it was geothermal heating. It wasn't even a furnace or an AC. The geothermal did both. So now I need to ask about the geothermal unit. How does it work? How do you turn it on? What year is it? How does it get the energy from the ground, right? So we have to be asking them. We're asking them all these questions because they're the experts. They know. We're just there to get the information, right? So let's ask the experts. That's why we're having this conversation with the seller. So we talked about windows. We talked about heating and cooling. The other thing that's very important everybody's going to ask is, what year is the roof? Roofs can range anywhere from $5,000 to $35,000, $40,000 if it's a steel roof, right? So what type of roof do you have? Do you have, what year is it? Did you add extra insulation into your roof when you changed it? Big ticket items, right? So those are the things that I would definitely ask your seller when you're having a conversation with them. And the other thing too that I find is sometimes sellers are repairing items before they list it for sale too. So let's ask them, are you planning on changing your windows? I had a seller say to me, Steph, I plan on changing my windows before I list for sale. Okay, perfect. When's that appointment? Or they have a deposit. Tammy has had somebody that had a deposit on windows that needed to be replaced, right? I had somebody say to me, okay, I have a pool that I have a brand new liner for my pool, but it's wintertime and I'm not going to install it right now, but it's been prepaid for. So they're going to have that liner installed before closing. If you have a pool, what year is how deep is your pool? How big is the pool? And what year is the liner? And what about the equipment for the pool? If they have a pool, right?
I have a question. So for my next listing, my client's been really good. He's been, getting things repaired, but his HVAC system, he's not 100% on it. He's not sure if it's working, if it's not working. So can we not just say in the listing, HVAC as is?
You definitely can, for sure. The only issue is then on the clause that's going to come usually from a buyer, we'll say that all chattels and fixtures included in the purchase sale will be in good working order upon completion of the sale. So just make sure that that part is figured out between you and the buyer, right? That you reword that to protect your seller if they're not fixing it. Okay. And they don't want to repair that before listing or get like an HVAC guy?
He's not 100% sure. He's been doing a lot of repairs. He's neglected the home. So
right.
He's strapped for cash now. He's kind of running out of funds.
Yeah, the only
I'm going to try, but
yeah, you can do that. The other thing you can do, Tammy, that might help as well is maybe just having an HVAC contractor come out to tell you what the scope of work is that is required to fix the repair and what the estimate would be of something like that. In case a buyer does want to purchase the house and they're okay with it not working, they factor that into the price that they're paying, but they want to know, okay, so they've had somebody professional come out, they've done a little bit of, to show a little bit of due diligence, right? They've done a bit of due diligence. And so as a result, this is what's required. And there's some great, if you go on our Keller Williams private page, and if you search on that search thing, HVAC, like there's like a little, circle magnet.
What, on the Facebook?
Yes. So on our Keller Williams Facebook page here, I'll show you guys right now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm going to actually show you guys because this is what really helped me in the beginning of my business as well. When I was looking for people to help me recommend people. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys and then I'm going to flip my screen. So if you're ever looking for people to help prepare your listing for sale, we have some really good recommendations here too. Yeah, and I think we also have a preferred list of vendors as well. So let me just share this with you. So you see this page here, right, guys?
Yeah.
This is our Keller Williams Realty Center's private group page. I really like this because your questions likely have already been answered. So right here, where this little thing is here, I search this group page and I'll go like HVAC. Oh, I asked in 2020. There you go. Leslie Proctor asked for a townhome on Bayview and St. John's and Thornhill. And then there you go. So there was like some answers here. View answers.
Perfect.
I don't know why it's taking so long to view it, but okay, there we go. So like mine, like HVAC person, please send your recommendations. So they sent me some, right? These are people that our agents are recommending, right? So we can go here based on word of mouth. Darren also asked need of a new AC unit, company in Pickering, right? So there's some in different areas. Victoria Payne asked for an HVAC guy, and these like go like years back, right? Like there's some that are from 2019. Michelle King asked. So you can find results here by searching our company's private page for contractors. But I do know that we have a list of preferred vendors as well. So we can just ask for that a copy of that in our WhatsApp chat, and I'm sure we can get that for you. But this is a great resource as well if you don't have anybody in mind that can help, right? So I really like using this to find electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys, roofers, that kind of thing. And if it's not something you want to ask here in the private page, in our WhatsApp chat, even us as coaches, we can recommend
great.
people to you. Like I have an HVAC company that I've used
Mhm.
before. I can recommend a couple to you to share. Just let us know.
Okay,
But yeah,
great.
an estimate would be a good idea in that case, guys. So that was a perfect example of where maybe a seller doesn't want to rectify an issue, but you have a buyer that's going to be looking at the house. You know that it's going to come up a lot. Perhaps we indicate the issue if it's not being repaired, let them know from the beginning, and then maybe we attach an estimate for the repair itself. But before you list the house for sale, that checklist of items is definitely something you can go by. And the other thing we need to ask them too in our folder, which we also saw as well, was an area that asks them for a copy of their key so that we can access the house. We need an updated recent tax report, property tax report. I just had to get one for myself today. So I just basically called my town office, City of Newmarket, Town of Innisfil, whatever, wherever you live, and you call and you speak to an operator, or they will transfer you directly to the tax department, and you ask them for a copy of your most recent bill. So for example, I said to them, can I have my final report for 2021, my final tax bill for 2021? And then I would ask my sellers to forward me a copy, and I save it, because you can't imagine how many times you've been asked to provide proof of taxes. I'm going to give you guys a really quick example. I just recently did a deal where the property tax on MLS said $2,500, but this is on an acre and it was like a massive property. And I said to myself, there's no way, like there's no way this is going to come up as an issue on the mortgage financing, because the mortgage brokers are going to ask for a copy of the MLS. So I asked the listing agent, I said, I think there's something wrong. And I didn't want to, this person has been in the business a long time. I don't want to say that they made a mistake, but I had to raise it, right? So I said, I think there's something wrong. The MLS listing says that it's $2,500. Was that just assumed? Like, it didn't seem right. And lo and behold, it was actually $5,600 and change, 560102, something like that. And that makes a big difference. Why? Well, because your buyer needs to know how much they're paying per month. And that's qualified in their approval, how much they're paying per month. So that doubled, right? Instead of it being like $300, it was like $400 a month or whatever. So it does matter when you're working with people who need a mortgage. So please get a copy of their bill and ask them to give that to you so that you can save it on a file somewhere for them, whatever that looks like for you. I use my Google Drive and I have every client in their own folders, and that's part of what I'm asking of them. So copy of their bill, a survey if they have the property. And then you also want to ask them for a copy of the bill that shows any rental contracts or items. So for example, an Enbridge gas bill it's good to have on hand, because that will show you exactly how much they're paying per month for a hot water tank. If an owner says to you, my hot water tank is owned, please have them send you a copy of their bill, or provide you with confirmation that they've reached out to their heating company, like Enbridge Gas, that they do not have any contracts assigned. If you put on MLS that it is owned and it's not, your sellers will need to pay. Likely they'll have to pay that hot water tank. And that has happened to me personally before. I asked the seller, Mr. Seller, do you own your hot water tank? Yes, I own it. Okay. Hot water tank is owned, right? I didn't ask them for a copy of their bill because I trusted that they were telling me the honest truth. They don't own their hot water tank. They know their house best. Through my mistake, I'm teaching you this because I don't want you to for this to happen to you. Unfortunately, this family didn't own the hot water tank. So now they had to pay out of their pocket $7,500, which was the discharge fee, back to the buyer, because I had advertised it that it was owned and that they didn't have a contract with Enbridge or Reliance. Lucky this family was truthful with me and said, yes, Steph, we do recall you coming through our house and doing a pre-listing interview with us. And we remember you asking us this question. And so, yes, of course, it's our fault. We're going to take full responsibility for it and we will reimburse the buyer. But guys, if I wasn't working with that type of a family, that could have been on me too. It would have been maybe both of our issue, right? Because I didn't have it anywhere to show proof that they in fact owned or didn't own it, right? So that's why now I always ask, and even for a lawyer, guys, a lawyer, if for whatever reason they need to look to see what contracts are associated to the seller's name, they have a copy of what the monthly payments are to the penny. So even when you're getting property tax information to the penny, not assuming it's, let's round up to $3,500. No, 350402. We need to know exactly. Even for the monthly payment on the hot water tank, it's nice to even include that in your listing. Seller is paying $56.47 per month. You can even attach a copy of the bill. Maybe we white out the seller's personal information and you include it as an attachment on MLS for your due diligence, or you send it with before you get an accepted offer. Because remember, you're going to have to include that when you're sending out that page. Remember, we're sending out a page for your offer night.
Yeah.
Hot water tank is rental. How much? When I bought my house with my real estate agent, what I really liked that he used to do for me is he used to put it in brackets. So where it says rental in an offer, he would put hot water tank is a rental at $56.47 plus HST, and we would all sign off on it. What if you find out that now the furnace is a rental or the AC?
That was going to be my next question.
Right? So now the furnace and
know
the AC, what if that's included in the rental fees? So the reason we're asking for this bill is so we can open up the books. Let's know what's going on, right? If you see the rental fee is like $185 a month, not your standard 40 or 30 or 50 bucks hot water tank, average of what we see, there's a red flag. What else is going on? Is there a water softener? Guys, I've seen Nest thermostats be on rental, right? So that's why we ask for a copy of the bill.
I know a lot of buyers don't want to assume any rentals, right? Because doesn't that go against their mortgage, right? Or getting pre-qualified? Is that correct?
Yeah. So basically what happens with, they would have to just basically assume it. So they would be assuming that item directly from the company. And so that's just adding to their monthly expenses as well. So I purchased a house myself and all of the items in the house were a rental item. Okay. So I was paying $180 a month for the furnace, the AC, and my thermostat was rented too. And the hot water tank. On closing, now I have to sell the house as a buyer. Now I'm ready to sell.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for the discharge fee. Guys, it could be anywhere from $16,000 to $20,000 that you have to pay to buy out all the equipment. So the best practice is for a seller to discharge and to buy out all of the rental items before they go list for sale.
That's my next question to you.
Yes, that's the best practice. If a seller decides that they don't want to, we have a clause in web forms that says the seller will be discharging all of the rental items. There's an actual clause in web forms for rental items. You can search for it. But that is best practice for a seller to discharge it before closing. Okay. So then in this market, in some markets though, guys, right? We know if an offer presentation comes and you read the instructions or on the actual listing itself that the buyer is to assume, we know that the seller has no plans on discharging. He or she does not want to be paying to buy out that equipment. And now we need to let our buyers know of that, right? We need to let them know, like, this is not going to be discharged on closing. But we have that conversation before an offer, right?
So my seller, another seller, she owns, she rents the furnace and the hot water tank. So maybe I should ask her to find out how much it's going to cost for her to purchase.
So that's what's called,
and then put that in the fee, right?
So that's actually part of it. Yes. So if your seller is not discharging any of their rental items before closing, we ask them to prepare a buyer. It's called a, hang on, there's actually an actual item, a wording for it. It's a discharge form. that they get from the company that they're renting from. So if they were to call Reliance, right, they would call the company that they're renting from and say, hi, I am the owner of XYZ. I'm calling to see what my buyout option is. That's all they have to say. What is their buyout option? And I need a letter because I'm going to be selling my house. Once they know of that you're selling your house, they're going to provide you with a letter. It's actually going to provide you with a breakdown. You can use that breakdown to attach to your MLS listing.
Okay.
And I would even create that as a schedule, perhaps as a Schedule C that everybody signs off onto.
Because what would be the benefit or the cost benefit to either keeping the furnace or buying it out? Like,
So,
would buyers want to like not assume that furnace?
Sure. And I guess that's a personal preference too. So for me, I was okay with buying the house with rental items because one, I really liked the house and I wasn't going to fight with the seller at the time in a busy market to bother them with that buyout fee. I took that as a cost for myself because I really wanted to win the house. I didn't want to bother them with that fee, right? So I had calculated that in my purchase price. Some people really don't mind rental items because it's maintenance free for them and they have the company coming out and taking care of it for them every month. If gosh forbid if something happens to that furnace, they have somebody coming out and are taking care of it for them, right? So it depends on what type of market you're in. Are you able to even negotiate that buyout option? In a normal market, I have definitely seen it where a seller does take the responsibility and the initiative to buy it out before they list it for sale.
Okay.
So it could go both ways, but have that conversation ahead of time. And if you are not buying it out, at least you know what the steps are, right? You need to get that form, the buyout form from the company that they're renting from. And it will give you the options there so that a buyer is aware of it. A buyer agent will need to present that to the buyer to let them know this is an extra expense that you're paying for every month. And here it is as an attachment. Would be a good idea to even include it in your offer to purchase.
I didn't even realize that you can negotiate as a buyer.
Yes.
I didn't even know that you could do that. I thought you had to assume everything.
Yeah, no, you definitely can.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know you can ask your seller to actually buy it out. Okay. Thank you.
I'm actually going to try to find an example of that for you.
Stephanie, while you're looking, can you
go ahead.
repeat where you can get copy of taxes on the property? Where from?
Oh, from the actual town that the property is in.
Thank you.
Here you go. Here's an assumption agreement. This is a copy of an assumption agreement, actually. I'm going to show you one. Okay.
So I need to get the clause that you said it's on our KW web form.
Yeah, I'll show it to you too.
Okay, thanks.
So I assumed this property, guys, right? And here's an example of the rental agreement. So this is what I'm responsible for. This is what I would get as a buyer if I was to assume all of the rent. This would all be prepared by the lawyers. This is a contract that comes to me now as a buyer that I'm assuming all the rental items, okay? But I want to show you something else. I want to show you.
So the seller who has the furnace doesn't have to do anything other than call and get that letter.
Yes.
And then the lawyer will take care of all transferring all the names and everything.
Here's a real estate letter of what I wanted to show you. Here you go. So let's say I was with Reliance, okay? I call Reliance and I ask them for a real estate letter to show me what my buyout options are. Now real estate's going to email me because I'm the owner of the house. They're going to say, please see attached your letter as requested. Can you guys see this?
No.
Sorry, I'm going to share my screen with you. No. Really, really want to show you guys this because I think it's important for you to see it. Can you see this?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yes.
good. So here's an example, right? Your seller has a rental items with a rental company, furnace, AC, thermostat, whatever it is that they have. They're going to call the company that they're on a rental contract with. They're going to say, hi, can I please have a copy of my real estate letter, which will show my buyout options of my rental items? Okay. They're going to get an email just like this one. See? And here's the letter. Please be advised of your home rental comfort plan system. I pay $129.99 per month plus HST. And this is what it includes. Then on the bottom here, where's my rental? No, that wasn't it. 1 second, I will show you which one it is. Sorry, guys, this was a really long time ago. So it's, maybe this was it. Here. No, I think in this example, guys, we were just talking about what my monthly fees were. But there is a letter like this that they can give you. Oh, I found it. It's right here. Sorry, it is in the letter on the bottom. Do you see it here? $6,930 plus HST. You guys see that, right? So on the same letter that Reliance gave me, we actually included it as part of a schedule. See, I added Schedule C on the top of it. I basically used what I had and I just added Schedule C on the top. Okay. And so what we did here was it showed them how much they're paying a month. I got the buyers to sign off, and the rental program is ongoing. The current buyout option of this item is $6,930 plus HST. Okay. So then I get everybody to sign off. We all signed off on both of the forms, and it was part of our agreement. And it tells me what's in there: rental AC, furnace, media filter, humidifiers, thermostat, all of that. When it was installed, what's included in my fee, and then what is my charge to discharge it. So that's important. That's why we're emphasizing this, because it could come up on closing as a big issue, right? So I want to show you a copy of the clause that was included. Here. In the event any chattels are right here, guys, on the bottom. In the event any chattels or fixtures are leased, rent to own, the seller agrees to discharge any contracts, liens, or encumbrances and provide clear title on or before closing. So that's basically me buying out any rental items, right? There will be no rental items on title.
Steph, just a question: why initials only on the certain clauses?
I don't remember why we did this. I don't remember why we did that. It's not necessary though. It's not necessary. I would probably for this one here, because it's not one that you see often. So if it's not one that you see often, I would definitely get them to initial here to make it clear, like, hey, you know that this exists, right? Like, you know that that's there. So that's basically that part. So this is pre-listing, a lot of stuff, right? Mike did a really good video, which you guys can always refer back to on the YouTube channel, about paperwork. But this part is what we need before we do the paperwork, because then it's just transferring information over, right? So resource folder, Drive. Under listing resources, you have a copy of all the sheets that I went through today. And you can use this video to refer back to if you guys need to in the future. It's saved and it'll be recorded and uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So if anybody has a pressing question, please ask it now before we move on, and then I'll stop the recording. You guys are okay? Happy that you'll have this recording so that you can refer back to. Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys next week. Take care, guys.
Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.